picture, thank you. Oh, yeah, you can. Well, you'll see a bigger one, you can take a picture. We'll be talking for a little while, so be comfortable. 1:45, okay. Okay, folks, thanks for coming. Whoop, I'm going to be mic'd up here.
Come on in, guys. Come on in.
All right, here we go. Okay.
So you see your face.
Here, they're meant to actually go. Let a pro help you out.
I'm dressing you up.
Yeah. Except for this is going that way. It's supposed to go like that over your ear. There you go.
Okay, great. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm here to talk about my youth, what it was about 80 years ago in the 40s and 50s, and then talk about something so dear to my heart, about a boat trip we took up to Sacramento. And I have some very special guests that I'll introduce after my little presentation, and if you have any questions about anything about China Camp, please let me know. Anyway, in the 40s, this place was hopping. There were 60 rowboats out there. There were 5 shrimping boats. In fact, the room we're in right now is called the cooling room. The shrimps used to come, bring them in off the pier in a basket. There was a cooking device over there. They'd cook them, and then they'd put them on a little device that shook like a little shaker, and there were apertures in the bottom of the shaker. The big shrimp would stay on top. The little shrimp would go down below. Those little shrimp, we would take and put them out on the platform out there, and my cousin and I, when we were young, we would sweep to keep the things dry, so those shrimp eventually went to China, and the shrimp that stayed in the cooling room here, it allowed the shell to dry and allow us to pick it easily, so we could then sell picked shrimp to the restaurants. In fact, every Friday, I think it was Friday, we'd all get together in the store, all the family members, and Mom would pile 3 pounds of fresh shrimp, and we would get a quarter because we get 1 pound of picked shrimp out of the 3 pounds. So we would, every week we would do that. So anyway, so 60 rowboats, just think of that. On the second house across from the store, that's where my bedroom, and I had the top bunk, so I could look out and see the boats, because Mom put me there just in case a boat, you know, every morning I'd count. As long as it was 60, you were okay. So we would rent those boats for $2 a day. Just think. And this water was so full of fish. Oh my God, in an hour, these guys would catch their limit and they'd have a bunch of fish. And at that time, Mom told these guys, we told them out there, that put your oar up and we'd come out and get you in the boat. And so sure enough, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the oar would go up, and Ole and I, and he must have been 9 years old and maybe I was 12, we'd take a shrimp boat, we go out and we would tow them in. And these guys had this big catch, and I know when they got to the shore, it was early, and they probably told their wives, that's going to take an all-day fishing trip, because I know they ended up in the cafe and Mom would sell them beer, no telling, and I know when I was young, she was actually throwing people out of the store. My mom, 5'2", wore chino pants, plaid shirt, hair parted down the center, and smoked a cigar. And she was the most loving mom any man could have. And so she was kind of like a caretaker of the store, along with my cousin's mom also. So the boat business was great. The shrimp business was incredible. Dad did very well. 5 shrimp boats, bring shrimp in every day, sometimes twice a day. It was totally amazing. And some of the things that I did as a young man was totally cool. Mom, for me, when I was 10 years old, she had me teach this guy how to catch fish. And twice a week, I'd ride my bike from here to Santa Venetia. There was an airport, and he'd take me flying. And I thought it was flying. And so I did that for a year. And then I was 11 years old. He said, Milt, you need to take a solo flying lessons for your license. I was 11 years old. So anyway, at 11 years old, I took off from the airport in an old Aranca, an old plane that flew about 75 miles an hour. I took off from there, flew to Pleasanton. There was an airport there. I had a touchdown to make it legal and flew back, and that would qualify me for a flying license. Well, it turned out I was colorblind. I am colorblind, so it didn't work out. One thing my mom did. The second thing Mom did, on this bunk I was talking about, I was sitting up there on top. One morning I looked on the beach, and there was two tall men. And one turned around, it was John Wayne. And I go, I'm 17 years old. So I climb out of bed, and I get out there, and he's kind of looking, because they're planning to shoot a movie here. So we kind of talked briefly. He was kind of abrupt. And he said, can you get me to the top of the hill? And I happened to have a military Jeep. And I said, sure. So he and Robert and Mitchum got in this military Jeep. I had to go four-wheel drive up the side of the hill. We got to the very top, and they were looking to see if there's going to be a good shot for the movie. So I came back down, total maybe 30 minutes, paid me $300. And that was more money I made in 2 months. And so that was the first time I met John Wayne. The second time I met John Wayne is when and my mom had not met him yet. She worked with some people in this company, and they were wanting to shoot a movie here. And she said, okay, if you're going to shoot a movie here, all my nieces, my nephews, and my sons and daughters and whatever has to be part of the movie. So sure enough, so he came down the very first time with his entourage of people in the parking lot in front of the store. And he's 6'2", my mom was 5'2" again, chino pants, plaid shirt, down the middle of a cigar. And so here comes John Wayne, and she walks up, she's about this far from him. I can't say the words, but I can say, she looked and said, man, you are a tall SOB. And he took about 2 steps back, and he started to smile, and he put his arms around her, and I heard him say, I love you. And so, and from that end, every day he'd shoot, he'd give Mom a hug. And because of that, he liked Mom so much, after the movie was shot, one of his directors came to me and he said, we're going to Stockton to do more shooting on the river. We'd like you to come. And I had just entered college. And I said, no, I can't go because I'm in college. And this director said, well, you probably should think about going. And I said, well, I can't go. So next thing happened, this tall guy, John Wayne, who I knew about, we didn't talk a lot. He walked up to me, he says, do you know who I am? And I said, sure, you're John Wayne. He says, what the hell do you think you're doing? He says, I'm offering you a job. He says, if you come to Stockton and shoot, I'll take you to Hollywood and I will support you. So I didn't know what to do. I'm 18 years old, right? So I came home to talk to my mom, and Mom says, well, college can come later. So I did. So we went to Hollywood, and I had my room, my food, and a car and a driver for 3 years. So I finished a movie with him. Then I did a movie with Humphrey Bogart because of John Wayne, and then another movie with a guy named William Holden. But anyway, all stunt stuff. I did all stunt work. It was really totally cool. So Mom was a fantastic force for me. So I want to tell you something else that she talked about. One morning around breakfast, she said, you know what? That shrimp boat you and Ole used to take around the bay. We used to tour around. We'd go maybe 5 miles from shore, and we'd go maybe down by there's 2 islands we call the Sisters. We'd go that far. He says, you ought to go to Sacramento. Well, we didn't even know where Sacramento was or what Sacramento is. So she said, you should take the boat up there. And we thought, okay, I was almost 14, and he was a little over 10. And so this old shrimp boat, it was about the size of the boat next to you over here. Those of you, when you go home, when you get your speed armor to 3 miles an hour, that's how fast we went. The horsepower was 10 horsepower, and all your cars are at least hundreds of horsepower. And so it had a small leak. It needed a paint job. It was green. In fact, this is the copy of the boat here. It's a very small boat, green cabin, tall mast, and just happened to be a friend I'm going to talk about in a couple of minutes. Anyway, she should go to Sacramento, and so we had a couple of old fishermen around here that were mentors, allegedly, to teach us how to find Sacramento. Well, they knew poop about anything. None of them even gone to Sacramento. And so we learned a little bit about boating and maps and whatever. So if you stand outside and you look across the bay, you'll see two towers, and that's the entrance to the Sacramento River. And our goal was that first day is to take the boat at 3 miles an hour and go from here to at least get past Carquetas Bridge, because we knew when we got on the other side of the bridge, we'd be on the river and we could start our little trip. So we took off with about a couple extra gallons of gas, a bottle of water, a camp stove, and Mom gave us, I think it's Chef Boyardee, I think it is, canned pasta. I think we had 12 cans of pasta, and that was our food. And Ole, I didn't realize it, he took a hook and some line, and he took some bait. I didn't know that. So anyway, we got to the bridge. As soon as we entered the bridge, here's the biggest boat I've ever seen in my life. One of the freighters, a big grain freighter that's like as long as our pier, was coming through the gate, and we were in their shipping lane. And so all of a sudden, this boat was making this big, the horn was blowing, and the guys are on the bow of the boat going like this, and our little boat was going poop, 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 poop. And so we finally got on the right side. If I remember correctly, it's port to port. We got on the port side of the boat, we got past that, and we go, holy crap, 3 little guys scared the poop out of us. So anyway, we go a little further, and this young man I want to talk about, his name is Tom Meyer, and I am blessed to have his 2 kids with me. Christy and Mike are here to hear our little talk, and Tom and I became best of friends. Anyway, Tom, his job was, he was kind of like our first mate, and so once we got past the bridge, the boat had a very small gas tank because it was used for shrimping. So Tom's job when we got past the bridge is take a stick and stick it in the gas tank and see how much moisture, and that told us how much gas was in there. So we needed gas. So we stopped at the very first yacht club, fancy yacht club, and here's the boat, needed a paint job. It was dirty, 3 young kids. One thing happened though, there was, I don't know if the man is here or not, his mother painted the word pelican on the bow of the boat. And you can't see it in this picture, but it's beautiful. She painted it a couple of colors. So anyway, we stopped at Yacht Harbor to get gas. And gas, I think, was 25 cents a gallon, I think, something like that. And so the guy gave us gas, and I think it took very little because the tank was small. And the guy said, well, where's your dad? And I said, what do you mean, where's my dad? And he said, well, where's the adult? And so he didn't realize we didn't have an adult. And so he said, wow, where are you guys from? We said, we're from China Camp. He looked at me and goes, you guys came across the bay in this boat? You know? And meanwhile, Ole, going across, it leaked. I told you it had a little leak. It would leak more than we thought. And Ole's pumping. It's like a tire pump, and he was pumping water. And so anyway, we got past that, and then we went up the river at 3 miles an hour, passing all these beautiful yacht harbors. And by the way, the Sacramento River is a huge river. So anyway, we got up there, and then we came to a place. This is the 16th Street Bridge, and there's a little place down here where we had a place to dock. And so we started, that was fired up. So Ole pulled out his fishing line and hook, and it was catching fish like crazy. And so there was a restaurant right above us, and the guy was watching us. He came down this stairway and he says, tell you what, guys, you give me the fish and you guys can eat free. So Ole would, this guy all of a sudden had on his marquee, fresh fish. and so it was great. We ate there I think we stayed there maybe 5 or 6 days. And so we're eating like champs. And so we decided then to leave there and go up the river. This, by the way, I know you see it back there or not, but this is the entrance of when you look across the way, you'll see 2 big towers. That's the entrance of the river. So you can see where we traveled. And anyway, we decided we need to leave this beautiful food and go on. So we went to what we call Steamboat Slough. And so getting there, you had to pass several roads. And then if you travel that road, there are drawbridges. So the first drawbridge we came across, the mast was tall enough that the drawbridge had to be lifted for us to go through. So our first mate, so Tom, we had this horn that was from the Mayflower. It was dirty, it was galvanized, and you had to blow in it, and you had to blow 3 seconds, a pause, and then 1 second. And it's supposed to then tell the attendant to raise or turn the bridge. Well, it's kind of archaic because here we are bouncing in the water, we're standing in front, and poor Tom is on the bow of the boat.